Disclosure news and commentary number 136, I think. 136. 136, 136, 136. How are you? So that XPW show last night, I ain't writing a report on that shit. That shit was not like XPW at all. Bad enough I was watching some shit that Rob Black had anything to do with, but I could stomach that. XPW was I will just say it was a guilty pleasure of mine back in the day. Plus, a guy that I broke into wrestling with went there, left Colorado, left there to really ply his trade, and I think he's done pretty well for himself. Ryan, I had a soft spot for XPW, but what happened last night was not XPW. I don't know what the fuck. I mean, G Raver had a match, and that's fine. They couldn't do blood because they're in Rochester, New York. Okay, I guess, but XPW. It was what it was. It was fucking. They had a wrestling tournament to determine their champion. What the fuck? And the more that they listed, the more that Chris Kloss listed, these are the legends that made it so we could do the show today. And none of those guys were there anymore because none of them wanted anything to do with Rob Black. I mean, if he arranges for your fucking thumbs to get cut off, you're probably not going to show up at his show. You feel me? And that fucking ridiculous ending of 3 refs getting bumped and then Rob Black showing up in a ref shirt and counting the pin, but then that guy, Willie Mack, didn't end up winning. It was Brian Cage. Overbooked. Bullshit nonsense. Really disappointing. I'm probably not going to talk about it beyond here. It really upset me because I wasn't able to go to Pro Wrestling Action because of the shuffling, and the kids ended up being with me last night, and I had to take them to school super early in the morning, so I just didn't feel right going to Pro Wrestling Action. I'm sure they had a great show. I can't wait to hear about that show. This weekend coming up, unfortunately, Ron canceled the 2 shows he was going to do in St. Petersburg and in Port Richey. Bums me out. I was looking forward to helping him work in those shows, but they're not happening. So it is what it is. I may go to a different show. I think Division Pro Wrestling here in Florida, who I really root for, is doing a show. Maybe I'll grab the kids and go to that one. We shall see. I will contact them and see what's good. And then, of course, the weekend after that, I'm excited about this. IWE's doing a show. And suddenly, the landscape in Georgia has changed tremendously. And I'm going to talk about that. What am I going to talk about? Should I bury the lead or should I get to it? I'll bury the lead a little bit. Let's talk about the shows that happened. So Southern Honor, reports I was getting was right before bell time, they had less than 200 people there. But Southern Honor people, enough people trickled in, so they had 247, I believe was the report said. That's the second lowest crowd they've ever had, folks. And as much as they obviously gave their people talking points, because people were putting out the same thing, and you're saying, Steve, you're just being an asshole. Dude, when people are putting out verbatim the same information, this crowd's totally into it. And look, this kid is standing for the main event. When that kid stands for the entire show. Again, I get trying to frame an argument, but fuck, too many people tell me too many things for people to be able to just fucking frame shit, at least as far as I'm concerned and whoever my audience is. But that is what it is. I get that you got to vouch for your shit, but there's no way to paint having a crowd less than half of the one that you had the month before as anything else other than the fuck? In the commentary, by the way, I'm going to go over last year's winners and say who should absolutely not win this year, who should have a chance of maybe repeating, and then who should repeat. By the way, the people who should absolutely repeat, I think, is 1. And the rest are all maybes or no's. That's freaky. So we didn't get a report from Rob yet about Southern Fried, but they drew 250. So head to head, same weekend, no excuses of big events taking away. Southern Fried outdrew slightly Southern Honor. The fuck? The fuck world are we in? Now people are saying Joe Black and Owen Knight was a great match. I can't wait to watch it. I will certainly evaluate it when I get a chance to look at it. But then I'm hearing from people who were at the show that like the first 10 minutes dragged. I'll judge for myself once I see it. I will say that I found it just reading the report really strange that they go to this 30-minute draw, which I'm sure was amazing. And that the match, when they restarted it, one, they called Gary out to restart the match, but then he didn't show up, which I'm sure was awkward as fuck. What the fuck happened there? And then Joe gets hit with Owen's finisher within a minute and gets pinned, which is, again, okay. Well, why is that a problem, Steve? Okay, so I've seen matches go to a time limit in the recent past, right? So you had the Iron Man death match, for crying out loud. Not this last one, but the one before. And so John Wayne Murdoch and Orin, they go for an hour doing death match shit. It's wild. And they each got a fall. So the hour time limit hit, and they're going to do sudden death. Next fall wins. But they wrestled for more than 5 more minutes. Of course, because it has to, you could build up that tension of like, my God, the next fall is going to win. This is going to be wild. And you build it up, you build it up, you build it up, and then you pay it off. So to have him just beat with a move, to me, is something weird about that. And then Joe beats the shit out of him, which is cool. And they're trying to turn him heel, except the crowd did not accept him as a heel turn, which Rob did not note in his report. But I had multiple people who were at the show saying the crowd was chanting fucking Joe, Joe, Joe the whole time he's putting him through the table. And that picture, by the way, was fucking stellar. The picture of fucking Owen crumpled on the table. And that was a great picture. No doubt. But then this idea of the entire show was hot. And look, folks, you can fucking put out your fucking bullshit all you want. I don't fucking... What? Are you telling me the approved got a reaction? Because from everything I heard, that people didn't give a flying fuck about the approved stuff. So the crowd was standing for that? I don't believe... I once went on a quest a couple of years ago, and thinking I've done a very good job of that. Of getting it so people stop bullshitting their crowd numbers. Let's do this. Can we start working on people not bullshitting how over their fucking show is all the fucking time? It is diminishing returns, and you're not convincing anybody but yourselves. That's a fact. Brutal. Brutal. What else happened? APW, back to earth after their Nightmare on Cherry Street show. They're back to 53. Pro South seems like they've gotten their stuff together, and they had a nice moment where finally Ace could talk about, getting shot with Shane Knowles. So that worked, and their talent level on that show's going up, and guys are improving. And Larry's very interesting IWN report. By the way, on Patreon, I'm going to talk about other stuff I found out about IWN. But they drew 150 for all of that. Man, it's disconcerting because let's be honest, 150 people, the fucking budget for those shows, which is when you hear about how much money gets spent on these shows for basically no return, you will be, and I know you're saying, Steve, I won't be shocked. You'll be shocked because I was shocked and I didn't think I was capable of being shocked about stuff like this. Wild and crazy stuff. All right, we're going to just jump right into this commentary because this commentary is going to take up time and it's going to be what people are the most interested in. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go down the line of the Georgia Wrestling Awards. I'm going to tell you who won and whether they absolutely deserve to repeat, whether they perhaps deserve to repeat, or whether they don't deserve to repeat. And people are going to get hurt and feelings are going to get hurt, but fuck, just take it for what it is. This is my opinion, right? Breast. We're off to a flying stop. You can tell where my mind is. This No Nut November is killing me. Fuck. Oh, but never mind. Best promo, Joe Black. First time we did the award. Could Joe Black win it again? Maybe. Maybe. What were the strong promos? I know Hankins put out a few. Did Joe Black do any that were really good? Yes. Did other people do ones that were powerful? Likely. So that's one we can revisit, but I'll put a maybe on that. Best match. Obviously, we're not going to have the best same match, right? It was Joe Black and William Huckabee. So let's talk about the participants themselves. Could they be involved in the match of the year this year? Joe Black could. Huck and Hansen, probably not. I don't think they've done a match, though I saw Huckabee put out a thing. And I think, Huckabee put out this interesting question this week about, turning the tables a little bit on how promoters deal with wrestlers and vice versa. I think it was so important. I was going to put it in this full disclosure. I think it warrants a discussion of its own, frankly. I think it warrants a whole separate video and a discussion of its own because I think it's an interesting thought. I'm of two minds on the answer, which tells me that it's an incredibly thought-provoking thing. So I'm going to discuss that more at that point. In any case, I don't recall Huckabee involved in anything that could resemble a best match of the year, but Joe Black quite possibly. So we'll say maybe on that one as well. Best feud and rivalry, Matt Hankins versus Bill Behrens. Well, that shit's obviously not happening this year. Is this the year of Manders and Sexton? I don't know. They blew it off a month or two ago. That would seem to hurt their chances. Are there any other feuds of note? Ace and Tyler Culprit, I think, would qualify most definitely. Zach Mosley against Skrilla would definitely qualify. By the way, I do think it's noteworthy that Southern Honor, KLT are both hovering around the 230, 240 mark. If that isn't an indication that almost everybody has taken a hit, I don't know what is. But we'll have more on that when we get to Promoter of the Year. Best Mentor Award, Todd Sexton. Could it be Todd Sexton again? Maybe. Best Feud and Rivalry, though, was definitely a no. Best Mentor Award, Todd Sexton? Maybe. Are there others it could be? Yeah. Best Referee Award, David Weekley? Maybe. But I think it's same thing. I think he's done a great job. I think there's a couple of other referees of note happening. And then, of course, Grandpa, who he and David Weekley trade off. I see Daryl Hall everywhere. I see him at AWE. I see him at everybody's fucking show. So I think this is either probably most likely going to be Daryl Hall's year again. But again, David Weekley could win it. That's a big maybe. Best Announcer Award. So now we have it for commentators and ring announcers. Diana Michelle for ring announcer? Maybe. But I think she's got way more competition this year than she did last year. I think, Young Professor, who's a name that lots of people have put out there. I think that's very viable. Scott Hensley continues to kind of do his thing and get out there. So I think he's going to be up for it as well. And hell, I heard JJ ring announce for a show, and I thought he was tremendous for Southern Fried. As for commentators, Brandon and Gerard, could they win again? Maybe. But I think, JJ has certainly made a strong argument for himself, but Anarchy not running shows for a little while hurts him. But then again, they're going to do one this month, and they're going to do one on Christmas, and JJ's voice is going to get out there. It's going to get out there. And there's probably other commentators that have done a stellar job. I think Shane Knowles has done a great job. And his partner that's there, who also commentates, I'm sorry, I can't remember his name, who also does commentary and does a really good job for GIPW. I think he's another guy who should be considered. So again, another maybe. Best Live Event Award. Still here, second anniversary show. Still here, third anniversary show. Will that win Best Live Event? No. I don't think there's any way that wins, especially because Southern Honor themselves are trying to imply this last show that 247 people saw instead of more than 500 is somehow going to be best show they've ever done. I mean, that kind of hyperbolic bullshit. I mean, as the people who wrote me, who were at that show said, it's probably not the best show it's certainly not the best show they've ever done. It's probably not the best show that they've done this year. So they had no idea where that came from. But obviously it was this push of, we got to get these awards, so we got to put this out there. I don't like that disingenuous bullshit. I just don't like it. So still here, third anniversary is not going to win for best live event. What might? That we're going to have to wait and see. But I don't think there's a chance that repeats. Best promotion award, Southern Honor Wrestling. Maybe. But they look, unlike the last 2 years, there's a word that I would attach to Southern Honor that I would not have attached before, and that is fallible. They look infinitely beatable this year. And if they lose, it will be as much of because of their drop as it is for anybody's rise. And if they manage to win, it'll only be because nobody's really stepped up to absolutely be the choice. That's the only thing that will get them this award again. Because there's nothing that you could say about this year that shows that they are a stronger promotion than they were the year before or the year before that. Is there anybody who wants to argue or dispute that? I don't think you can, right? Best Booker Award. Dylan? I don't think so. I mean, to me, their big show of the year set almost nothing up. And this last show was an attempt to get heat in this very grandstanding way, but they had no angle that really rode throughout the year and paid off handsomely. Again, they did another title switch with a multi-person match because they had no definitive, obvious choice. And this show really read like a hodgepodge. They had 4 or 5 matches where shenanigans happened after the match to try to establish or set something up. 4 or 5. That's a lot. That's a lot. Seems problematic. So I would say no with a minor chance of maybe for best booker for Dylan. But the thing that's in his favor is who else is booker of the year? Could be Ace. But Pro South had that long time off. Could be Todd, most certainly. One thing that I find really interesting is all 3 of those guys have booked themselves in the main events of their own shows. That inherently isn't disqualifying by any stretch, but I do find it really noteworthy, right? Something that I'm going to do this, because this week is the anniversary, obviously 11/11/11, which was the biggest turning point in PCW history. We're coming up on 10 years of that. So I'm going to be writing stuff about that, doing videos about that. And one thing that is noted is... I'm not going to even say it because it's going to sound self-serving and totally asshole-ish, but let me just say that was fucking booking. That was fucking hot shit. It was booked to appear to be the fucking blow-off, and instead it made the thing bigger than ever before. And I'm just not... this is probably going to get a reaction, and the bookers themselves might get upset. Fuck, I don't feel like anybody fucking took it. And there are circumstances and all of that shit. Of course there are. Aren't there always? But I'm not wowed by anything happening right now. Best promoter, Gary Lamb. I'll say this is a strong maybe. But, I mean, for a guy who self-admits that he hasn't given a shit about promoting that fucking show in months, and their crowds have now dwindled to the mid 200 marks, but he's still going out and making fun of Championship Wrestling from Atlanta. How many tens of people were there? Well, 15 tens of people were there, and you had 24 tens of people. It's not that much more. For a guy that hinges himself on the numbers and all of this shit, you got outdrawn by Southern Fried. You're in the neighborhood of KLT. And there's probably going to be a couple of other shows happening this month that are going to outdraw Southern Honor when they're coming off of their fucking biggest show of the year. And supposedly it's the greatest show they've ever done. Um, so Steve, who would you put up for promoter? Fucking Ricardo Muchalucha. They haven't had a crowd below 1,000. Now they haven't done as many shows, but does anybody bust their ass more promoting? Is anybody the brand? Who's the brand that people want to attach themselves to? It's Muchalucha. Whether it's Championship Wrestling from Atlanta wanting to do a show, Gary Lamb being very excited to do a thing in conjunction with them. Like Muchalucha, that's the promoter that has busted his ass and achieved high levels of success at the highest ticket rate by miles. And he continues to draw over 1,000. Somebody wants to argue that that guy isn't promoter of the year. I would love to hear your argument. Best manager or valet award. Congratulations. This is the only one that I would say yes should repeat. It's Matt Hankins. Though I would say who's in the realm? I can't really say Logan Chase, but I would say Brooklyn. Brooklyn has definitely come on. And so I'd say she's the only one even in the parking lot of the ballpark. But it's Hankins. Hankins is the best manager again. Most improved wrestler before, obviously for obvious reasons, you're not going to be able to repeat on this, so it's going to be a no. But Tyler Culprit, who's the most improved wrestler this year? I don't know. There's a lot of arguments you could make, right? Will Caution. There's just a lot of guys you can make that argument for. I think it's going to be very competitive this year. But obviously that's a no. The undeniable for best tag team or stable? Maybe. But it's hard to argue against Exotic Youth. It's hard to argue against All-Star Special. It's hard to argue against technical excellence to a point, though I would say because they only do their thing at Southern Honor. Though they did re-win the tag titles, which just read very weird to me. But that is what it is. I'd say undeniable, All-Star Special, Exotic Youth are the three that come to the top of my mind, but there's probably others that others can name. Ted Allen Legends Award, it's no because you win it and you only win it once. That's obvious. Are there people who I think could be up for this Ted Allen Legends Award? Most certainly. I mean, Iceberg is a guy who's perpetual in the running for it. I think he'll be in the running for it again. I think Jimmy Rave may get votes this year for the Legends Award, and you can certainly make the case for that. So that's cool. Best female performer. This is another one that may be, I'm going to say maybe though, because though Danny Jordan's better than she's ever been, for once there's actual other names out there, whether it's Rekha Tahaka, whether it's Shalance Royal. I think those are people that you could argue for best female performer, and then possibly Brooklyn as well. But Danny Jordan, that one's a maybe, but borderline yes, I would say. Best male performer, Hold My Beer Hansen. Could it be him again? I think most certainly. I'm going to put a maybe on that because I think the stuff that he's doing with All-Star Special is really, really great. Who else could it be? It could have been Tyler Culprit, but I think Pro South not running for a while hurts him there. But there's been a number of guys who I think have come on as far as performance goes, about work at a gimmick and that kind of thing, who do great work. I mean, AC Matt continues to cut great promos and do great stuff, right? So how is he not in the running? Of course he's going to be in the running, and he has won it before. Best Technician Award, is it Chip Day? It easily could be. So I'll put that as a strong maybe, but guys that have won it before, Kyle Matthews, Joe Black, Slim J. I mean, this category is, boy, it is more on the nose than almost any of the categories. Because all those guys are still great, right? Yeah. But Best Technician, I mean, if you wanted to make an argument, as he does more and more matches in the Georgia area, it's hard to argue against Jonathan Gresham, is it not? Overall Wrestler Award, Joe Black. Could he win it again? Maybe. Certainly, there was a big push for it to be David Ali, and I think David Ali very well could win it, and I would make an argue for Michael Judas as well. That's a pretty strong three, right? Michael Judas, Joe Black, um, you know, come on, that's a really strong list for overall wrestler, and David Ali. Um, and we still got a couple months to go. So I will be interested in how this all shakes out. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you have thoughts on the matter? Go ahead and comment below or let me know. And I'm going to go ahead and get this thing up.